Hey, this is Juan Tutors, and today we are going to be talking about retirement accounts. This is a child and adult-friendly video about retirement accounts. It's adult-friendly because it really does have a lot of the nuts and bolts that you need to know, and it's also child-friendly because, fun fact, a lot of us go as former children who became adults and took careers, people who did not know anything about retirement accounts, then maybe made some not so good decisions as adults, and now we're short in our retirement account balances and we have to make decisions, right? So, but then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because then the adults don't know about retirement accounts, and then they don't talk to the kids about retirement accounts, who then go take on new careers, not knowing about retirement accounts, and then it just repeats the cycle. And it's a fun fact that both the average and the median retirement account balance for those approaching retirement is actually too low to sustain retirement. So I want you as older adult or younger adult or even a kid to listen to the video and just take my advice and just start contributing as soon as possible to that. When I have kids, I really actually want them to start thinking about retirement accounts even as kids. And so that's my goal for you. So the title for today's video is Math Teacher's Guide to Hacking Your TDA, growing your stash without confusion, hopefully not too much confusion, and without the armor. And I just want to be clear, I did say I'm a math teacher, right? I teach math, not finance. There are U.S. laws that state that non-financial advisors cannot be giving financial advice. And you'll see in a lot of YouTube videos that people kind of say this is not financial advice, but then they go on to give you some of the worst advice that they could possibly give you. And the reason they say not financial advice is kind of as a legal cover to giving really, really very bad advice. So I want to make sure that you know that I am not a financial advisor. I'm a math teacher and a high-end math tutor and physics tutor. I'm going to do my best to give you straight facts to the best of my ability. And when I share an opinion, I'm going to be clear about the fact that it's an opinion. I want you to, though, to not treat this as financial advice nor legal advice. Treat this as a peer-to-peer conversation, not as advice, not as counsel. And I really mean that. One, because I don't want you to take my information as advice, but two, because I want you to understand that when you are online and you hear somebody say, this is not financial advice, it might be a trigger for you to listen to it and say, maybe what they're telling me to do is not a good idea. This video, by the way, is not going to be selling you anything. Just want to be clear. I'm not going to be selling you anything. I'm not even giving you a referral link to anything that I have. This is literally just straight to the best of my ability, facts, and well-intentioned opinion. As a teacher, though, of course, I have a question of the day. The question of the day is, not including catch-up contributions, if you happen to know what those are, what is the maximum amount that you can contribute to your 403b, your 401k, and your 457 retirement accounts combined in the year 2026? Is it A, $24,500, or B, double that, $49,000, or C, triple that, $73,500. Now, if you know the answer, you could scream it at the camera. No one's going to hear you, though. The answer to that question is coming real soon, so keep an ear open for that. But let's actually move to the next slide, and let's talk about some of this vocab that we had mentioned. Traditional versus Roth. Because a lot of the conversation can get really confusing because there's just so much vocab. Traditional 403b, Roth 401k, Roth 457, I can't talk about all of those examples. It's not physically possible, but at least I can demystify some of the parts of that so that the information that applies to a lot of those can be understood by you. So let's actually first talk about the difference, traditional versus Roth IRA, and what do these terms actually mean? And why does Roth sound like a person's name? So first off, Roth, there is an actual person named William Roth. William Roth was a senator from Delaware. He wrote the legislation that created the Roth IRA. The Roth IRA is a slightly different version of a retirement account than the 403b that we're talking about. The Roth part of it, what he created, the rule that he created, applies to many different types of retirement accounts, including Roth 403bs, what people sometimes use the misnomer Roth TDA. And we'll talk about why that's a misnomer as well in a second. But here's how a traditional retirement account works. And this diagram typifies the differences between a traditional and a Roth IRA. I don't want you to think that one's better than the other at this point. And in fact, it's better that you don't say just plain old one's better than the other. But here's how the traditional account works. You see, if you compare on the traditional side versus the Roth side, pre-tax dollars versus post-tax dollars, let's talk about what that means and why these gold money seeds seem to be bigger and more numerous than the post-tax gold money seeds. Well, in the pre-tax situation, your money that you invest into your retirement account is taken pre-tax. Those are pre-tax contributions. Now, what does that mean? What that means is that the money is taken from your paycheck before it ever gets taxed. You literally do not pay payroll taxes at the beginning for the traditional retirement account contributions. Those traditional retirement account contributions grow over time. Then when you withdraw the money when you retire, that withdrawal gets taxed as if it were ordinary income at the time of retirement. So in a traditional retirement account, you deposit the money here, bigger money seeds here. Then that money tree grows. And then at the time of retirement, the tax man comes in with the nice suit and the nice hat and takes a portion of your tree, of your money tree, the money that you gained. Now, you might say that that's not fair, but if you think about it, the tax man has to always take their portion somehow. The tax man will always take their portion somehow. You know, that's 99% true, sure. I know there's unfair situations, but we're not talking about those today. But the tax man will take their portion. What about in the Roth case? Well, in the Roth retirement account, your income is taxed as ordinary income, as it usually is before it ever reaches your bank account. That's why these post-tax money seeds are smaller and less numerous. Now, you might say that's better or worse. I don't know, but we'll talk about why it's neither better nor worse, but may depend on you. So those post-tax contributions, you got taxed, payroll tax. Now you're putting money into your retirement account. And then that money grows into a nice money tree. When you're ready to retire, you have this really beautiful money tree that you get to withdraw from. And that money, since it's already been taxed, it's no longer going to be taxed when you go to make withdrawals. So in a Roth account, you pay taxes, then deposit money. That money grows. And then when you go to withdraw it, you do not pay taxes on the withdrawals. The traditional account, you don't pay taxes at the beginning. Your money grows into a nice money tree. And then when you go to withdraw, then as you withdraw, that money gets taxed. Now, you might feel that that's maybe better or worse in one version of it or the other, but we're going to actually talk about why that's not really necessarily the case. What is a TDA? Well, a TDA is a traditional retirement account, meaning that you deposit money pre-tax, that money grows, and then you withdraw it. And when you withdraw it, you get taxed. So a TDA is stands for tax-deferred annuity. So by definition, this TDA is a traditional pre-tax retirement account. What about Roth? The Roth 403b. The Roth 403b is not tax-deferred. Taxes are paid now. So the reality of it is, when people talk about a Roth TDA, and you can feel free to talk about a Roth TDA, but that is technically a misnomer, and I'm only addressing that because it causes a little bit of confusion. If you have a 403b, you will likely not see it say Roth TDA. You might see it called Roth option or Roth account, something like that, but they probably won't say Roth TDA. Now, don't quote me on that, but I did an extensive search of my own retirement account website, I couldn't find the term Roth TDA in any single part of it because technically it's not tax deferred. You can't be tax deferred but tax now. That's not a thing. So there is a traditional 403B, which is a TDA, and there is a Roth 403B, which is like the Roth after tax option. So it's nice to talk about it as traditional pre-tax TDA and Roth after-tax option, or whatever vocab you want to use. Or if you want to say Roth TDA because it's simple for you, you do you. Just want to make sure that we're clear that those are technically different. Now, I seem to be very keen on asking you to not say that one of these is just better or worse than the other, and you might wonder why. It's not. This scenario that I'm going to go over is the reason why. I call this scenario A the it's a wash theorem. It's a wash theorem. Suppose that you are comfortable with taking $10,000 out of your paycheck so that you can contribute to your retirement account. If you're going to contribute to the traditional retirement account, well, then you could take that entire $10,000 and contribute it to that retirement account because it's contributed pre-tax. So that money goes into your traditional retirement account pre-tax. And let's say it grows, for mathematical ease, let's say it grows until it exactly doubles. Depending on your luck, depending on what offers your retirement accounts have, that's possible, more than possible, in fact. Suppose it doubles in value to $20,000, okay, pre-tax. Then when you go to withdraw it, about 30% of that is going to get taken by the tax man. 30% of $20,000 is $6,000. And so what remains that you could spend on yourself? You could spend $14,000 on yourself. Now you might say, I just put $10,000 away and I'm only getting 14 out of it. But remember, you got 10,000 pre-tax dollars. So the money that you would have paid in taxes is instead invested for you. And then that money turned into $14,000 that you could spend on yourself, taxes already paid. So that's a pretty sweet deal. But let's say instead of contributing to the traditional retirement account, you want to contribute to the Roth retirement account. And you again are willing to take $10,000 out of your paycheck so that you can contribute to your retirement account. But in this case, you're contributing to the Roth account. So that $10,000 of income, you have to pay taxes on it. Now, to make it mathematically equivalent, let's say that you are also taxed at the 30% rate as you were in the traditional account. So 30% of the $10,000 is $3,000, which means that what you're depositing into your retirement account is $7,000. Now you might say, wait, but they took my money. That's not fair. But they were always going to take your money. They were always going to take your money. So it's not unfair. Now that money grows. And let's say, just like before, you put it in just long enough for it to double in value. So the $7,000 doubled to $14,000. And then you're ready to retire. You go to withdraw it. That money was already taxed when you deposited it. You've paid the taxes on it. So now when you go to withdraw the $14,000, you are fully allowed to withdraw the entirety of it. So you get $14,000 that you could spend on whatever you want. And notice, those are equal to each other. The traditional and the Roth accounts, in the case where you are depositing less than the maximum, are actually pretty equivalent. If you aren't maxing out, and we're remembering that we are taking the case that the percentage tax rates stay flat so that we could do an apples to apples comparison, then the score is identical for these situations. Now, you might say, wait, but my friend and my tax man or my cousin and my boss or my union rep says that one of these is actually better than the other, and they might even give you reasons why. Well, here's the thing, though. Each of these situations are really dependent on very particular details about your personal and professional life. So it could be that, and it likely in fact is, that these aren't exactly 100% identical for you, that they're like very close to each other. But in your scenario, the traditional account to start might be better, or in your scenario, the Roth account might be better if you're not maxed out. But let's go through another example. In this other example, this is what I call the max out hack. And if you are able to max out your retirement account, congratulations. I am one of those people who have been maxing out their retirement account. And so this is the max out hack. What is the max out hack? Let's say similar scenario. You are maxing out the limit in 2026 is $24,500. That's what it is. Who knows why that number came up? But some actuarial table probably said it. $24,500, likely going up next year in 2027 because it goes up every year, or at least that seems to be the pattern. So the limit, $24,500. Let's say that you invest it again until it doubles in value to $49,000, but now you're ready to retire. You go to withdraw the $49,000. Let's say again that 30% of it gets taxed, and that's approximately, oh, I don't know, $15,000. It's really close to $15,000. So that leaves you about $34,000 in real value that you can spend on whatever you want. $34,000. Remember that money value for a moment while we go to look at the Roth retirement account. Let's say you want to contribute the limit all in Roth, which, by the way, if you can, go you. I'm not there yet. Let's say you want to contribute that limit, $24,500, into your Roth. Remember, the IRS sets a limit on the dollars in, not the value in, meaning the money that gets deposited into your retirement account is limited to $24,500. So to deposit $24,500 after taxes, you have to pay taxes on some bigger amount of money. It's $35,000 or something like that. The exact number doesn't matter. You've paid taxes on it. And so your account really got $24,500. That money grows. Let's say you leave it to double once again. So it doubles to $49,000 in value. When you go to retire to withdraw that money, that $49,000 doesn't get taxed because it's already been taxed. So when you go to withdraw it, that's $49,000 in real value. Notice that that's more than the $34,000 that you would have gotten in the traditional if you're maxing out. If you're maxing out, they are actually different. Does that mean that you should max out the Roth instead of the traditional? Well, actually, not necessarily, because remember, you might not be able to afford that. Your specific scenario is highly dependent on your specific career choices, family situation, a lot of things. And the $24,500 Roth contribution is equivalent to about $35,000 out of your paycheck. So if you can afford that, great, and do it. But again, the IRS does set a limit on the dollars in, not the value in. So the max out hack does allow you to get a higher value in your retirement account. So which strategy is better for you? And I am not going to choose one. I want to be clear. I am not giving you advice at this point. This is actually just a minor bit of a rule of thumb that you could choose to follow or not. But here's a couple of examples. The traditional retirement account, because you don't pay taxes on it, it does reduce your taxable income, your AGI. So if you happen to have debt that is dependent on the AGI, you may benefit from contributing to the traditional account, especially if you're not maxing out. Because, for example, student loans have a few different versions of income-based repayment plans. Those payments are all lowered if you contribute to a traditional retirement account and therefore lowered your AGI. And that might be a benefit for you, because if you are a teacher or in general a public servant, which is likely if you have a TDA, 403B, then you might also benefit later on from the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program, or the Teacher Loan Forgiveness Program, which both allow you to reduce the amount that you owe to a lower amount, with the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program all the way down to zero, even if you're not done paying the whole loan down. But let's say you are in a different situation. You are the tax hedger. And actually the tax hedger in this diagram, I put it as the Roth, but the truth is that tax hedging goes both ways. Suppose that you expect to have to pay higher taxes in retirement. Then you want to pay your taxes now because taxes are lower now, right? In your opinion, this is you now guessing. This is your opinion. So you expect higher taxes in retirement, so it might be better for you to pay taxes now. That would mean you choose the Roth. But let's say you're a tax hedger who believes that you're going to have lower taxes in retirement and higher taxes now, then you want to pay the taxes when you retire. You would actually choose the traditional. What if you don't want to hedge on either side and you want to kind of do both? Well, it turns out if you can't decide, you can mix them. You can, for example, do 90% traditional and 10% Roth. And I'm going to talk about in a second what I actually do. Or you could do 50% traditional, 50% Roth, or you could do all traditional, all Roth. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can do that. If you're a maxer outer, this is a great example. If you can max out $24,500 and you found that you can actually withdraw more than the 24,500 that they've been withdrawing in the traditional, then you could actually increase the value of your retirement account by starting to contribute to the Roth. Notice again, the IRS limits how the money in, the dollar amount in to your retirement account, not the value of the dollar in. And a post-tax dollar is just worth more than a pre-tax dollar, because a pre-tax dollar is going to get taxed down to maybe 70 cents or 60 cents, whereas a post-tax $1 is going to get taxed 0% and stay a dollar. So there are strategies that may benefit you. Now, as promised, I talk about what I'm doing. In fact, I had been contributing to the traditional retirement account throughout my career. I started off contributing about 10%, and I started increasing my contributions by 1% each year, and until I finally got maxed out. And so I was maxed out in the traditional retirement account. In 2026, new laws were passed that motivated a lot of retirement account companies to provide a Roth option for their retirement accounts. So this year is the first time that a Roth 403B option was available to me, and I did start contributing to that at a rate of 10% of the contribution in Roth and 90% of the contribution into traditional. I also have been contributing 1% of my income to the 457 plan, which is a deferred compensation plan. Different rules, or different justification, legal justification for that one, but the same rules, same maximum to that one, 24,500. But I'm not even close to 24,500 in that account. I am maxing out in my 403B or TDA and Roth option combined. Not only am I doing that, but I'm actually doing that by contributing something like 25% of my income to the traditional and about 3% of my income to the Roth. And that adds up to just about 90-10. But you might be saying, wait, does that mean that they're taking out 28% of my income every month for the whole year? And actually, no, because I have another hack that I like to use, which is the finish contributing early hack. The longer that the money stays in your account, the more time that it has to grow. And there is a benefit to diversifying by time, meaning spreading out the payments if you are only investing in stocks. But if you happen to be investing in a fixed return account, which I am, it is a benefit to contribute as early as humanly possible to the fixed return account, because then that money is just growing for longer. So that I'm employing that hack. I'm paying off my retirement account early, in August, in fact, and then from the end of August to December, so September, October, November, December, and a little part of August, I'm getting my full paycheck without anything being taken out of it. Not a bad hack. Do I think you should do what I'm doing? No, not financial advice. I'm just literally telling you what I'm doing to just in case it helps you to know what can work and what doesn't. But keep in mind, if they're depositing 24,500, but some of that is Roth, some of that I've already paid taxes on, so they are taking out more than 24,500 from my paycheck. Now, we should know our limits. What is the limit to your retirement account contribution? What is the limit? And what does it mean to be maxed out? So the limit to the traditional 403B or the TDA is 24,500. The limit to the Roth 403B option is 24,500. But the thing is that it's actually a 24,500 combined traditional and Roth 403b. So you can't contribute 24/5 and 24/5 to both. Doesn't work, not legal. The max for the 403b combined traditional and and Roth is 24,500. And in fact, the truth is that the combined traditional and Roth 403b and 401k is 24,500. So don't think that you could contribute to a 403b 24,500 and then separately here's the secret 401k that I have and no one knows about, and I'm depositing to that at maximum rate 24,500. That's illegal. The combined traditional and Roth 403b and the traditional and Roth 401k, all combined maximum is $24,500. So there's no double dipping there, and no double dipping on Roth and traditional, no double dipping on 403b and 401k. But there are things that you can do, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But let's talk about some cheat codes and expansion packs. What about the age 50, $8,000 catch-up contribution? The government had stipulated at some point that if you are age 50 or over, and actually specifically, not just age 50 or over, but on the year that you turn 50, you are allowed to contribute an additional $8,000 to your retirement account as catch-up contribution. So if you're already that age, that's what you can contribute. If you're approaching that age, you do have to wait till the year you turn 50, but the catch-up contribution might be something different, and let's hope that it is. But that on this year, if you're 50 or over, that means that your limit isn't $24,500, it's $32,500. That's phenomenal, but it gets better. Suppose you are actually between the ages of 60 and 63. Well, the government passed a law during the Biden era, which took effect in 2026, this year, that says that if you're between the ages of 60 and 63, you could actually do a super catch-up contribution, which replaces the smaller catch-up contribution. The super catch-up contribution just for those 3 years is $11,500. Why that much money and why only those 3 years? I'm sure there was an actuarial table and a guy with an electronic calculator punching numbers throughout the night and came up with these numbers. But that does increase your limits if you're between the ages of 60 and 63 to $36,000 if you're able. What if you are in the scenario where you didn't get to see this video when you were, in your early 20s or early 30s and just starting your career? You ended up starting very late to the game and you started contributing a very small amount of money. And let's say, in fact, there's a specific set of math problem that needs to be solved. Let's say you actually have 15 years of service, but your average contribution rate is less than or equal to $5,000 per year. So that's, unfortunately, it's not that great, but the government does say you are allowed to do a late to the game $3,000 additional catch-up contribution, and that is separate from the catch-up and super catch-up contribution. So you are allowed to contribute the late to the game contribution and the catch-up or super catch-up contribution if you qualify for those. And I think that's great because the truth is that retirement account balances are actually a little bit too low for most retirees. Both the average and the median are a little bit too low. Great expansion packs. And then there's this secret level, which I did mention that I am participating in, the secret 457 plan level. And how does that work? Let's say your combined 403b limit is reached to $24,500. Let's say actually your combined 403b and 401k contribution is max, which again is $24,500. Remember, it's a myth that you could double max the TDA and the 401k. You cannot. You can single max the TDA and 401k to a total of $24,500. But the 457 plan, don't ask me why the law was written this way. The 457 plan is a deferred compensation plan. The 457 plan has its own separate limit. What is that limit? $24,500. Yes, it is the same number as the limit for the 403b and 401k combined, but it is its own independent, separate limit. So you can contribute to both 403b, 401k, and then separately 457 to its additional maximum of $24,500. So it is true, you can double max the TDA and the 457 for a total potential savings of $49,000. That's again not including the catch-up contributions. Now you may wonder, how did I possibly get to maxing out my retirement account? In fact, and like I said before, I actually started out maxing my retirement account a little less than a decade ago. And how could I have possibly done it? You and I might be making the same money. How did I do it and you can't? Now, again, your scenario might be different. If your scenario makes it literally impossible, then I do feel for you. You got to do what's right for you and what works for you. This is, once again, me talking about opinion and my personal life. I call this, though, the start poor mindset. And why I call it the start poor mindset? Because I literally started poor. I came from a poor family. I went to college. Then I went to grad school. Then I went to grad school again. And there's the first 27 years of my life. I became a teacher at 27 years old. I didn't have money the entire time. Not much. I survived. But how did I make it? One of the ways is I literally was wearing the clothes that I had in high school. The pants that I had in high school, they were getting kind of ratty, but they worked. They clothed me. The t-shirts, the button-downs that I had from high school or other, during college, I had all of that still. And I kept always shoes as long as I possibly could until they were letting water in. So I literally just started poor. Now, why is that a benefit to me? When I got paid as a teacher and I started contributing to the retirement account, I didn't feel it because I was strictly making more money than I was before becoming a teacher. Not only by a little either, by a whole lot. I mean, when you go from basically zero and using student loans to kind of pay your rent to actually suddenly making money, it's a big jump. And so I got my raise, but I didn't feel it when I contributed to my retirement account. And there was a second piece of advice that I got that I know some of you never got, but I was blessed to have gotten it. The first day that I walked into the job, my union rep comes to me and helps me to set up my retirement account. And he says to me, you should start at 10%. You'll never miss the money that you never saw. You'll never miss money that you never saw. And I knew that to be true. I actually had already planned on contributing 10% to start. At the time, I thought that 10% was just enough forever, and it turns out just not to be, because the 10% forever retirement account contribution came about when people had pensions. Many people still have pensions, but they're not nearly as good as they were, 30, 40 years ago. So now that pensions are weaker than they used to be, contributing more than 10% eventually is really the goal. It's kind of a almost necessary goal. So I started contributing 10%, and they suggested to increase by 1% every year, and I actually decided to contribute by increase my contributions by 1% every raise. Why increase contributions by 1% 6 weeks before every raise? Now, first off, the 6 weeks is it seems like a random number, but it's how long it takes for the retirement account websites and companies to update your contribution. Now, you might say, wait, why does it take them 6 weeks all the time? Are they making money off of it, or they're just slow at it? It actually turns out to not be the case. It's actually not even their fault, technically. The thing is that your paychecks are basically already printed for the next month. So the 6 weeks away paycheck is the first paycheck that actually hasn't been printed yet. So when you increase your retirement account contributions, it's that 6 week paycheck that is the first paycheck that can even be modified. Now, why also, though, contribute 1%? Like, why 1% and not some different percent? It turns out that if I increase my contribution by 1%, 6 weeks before every raise, then I get my raise. But if that raise is 2.5%, which is very close to what many of our raises have been, 2.5%, 3.5%, plus some experience raises. But it turns out that if you increase it by 1%, you're increasing your contributions, getting closer to that maxing out, while also getting to enjoy a bigger paycheck. And so I got to enjoy a bigger paycheck and I never missed money that I never had. Now, if you can't contribute 1% additional 6 weeks before every raise, now your situation is different, and I am not going to be the person who judges you. I don't know you, so this is not any kind of judgment. If you can't, you literally can't, then just don't. However, I will tell you also that I've met a lot of people who have insisted that they cannot contribute even the initial 10% to their paycheck, or they just don't want to because now that they're finally making money, they want to enjoy the money. The unfortunate thing is it's that initial deposit that grows the most in your retirement. So missing those early contributions very quickly means a later retirement. So you really do want to contribute as early as humanly possible. And if you feel like you can't contribute the 1%, I get it. And so this is a test, though, for you to think about if you think or have convinced yourself that you cannot contribute to your retirement account. I call this the flat tire theory or the flat tire test. If a flat tire won't make you lose your home, you can contribute the cost of a flat tire to your retirement account. Again, if a flat tire won't make you lose your home, you can contribute the cost of a flat tire to your retirement account. You may not buy that logic, that's fine. But what's the cost of a flat tire? It actually turns out to be very close to 0.2% of your income. So if a flat tire will not take away your home, your ability to afford your home, then you may be able to contribute 0.2% more to your retirement account right now. And that's a good test also because like if you do it every 3 months and say, I actually can afford a flat tire right now, then you can, in every 3 months, you can actually contribute it by increase your contribution by 0.2%. And that actually is a good increase as you move on. My suggestion, again, not advice, but I'll tell you what I did. I started at 10%. Start at whatever you can, but it's not a bad place to start. I do know people who started maxed out. Congrats for being able to do that. If you can, go ahead, but start as close to 10% as you can. Do not wait to feel rich because you know what happens is what's called lifestyle creep. You will naturally adjust your spending. That phrase, you will naturally adjust your spending, does not just apply to the lowered income that you take home when you contribute to your retirement account. It also applies the other way. If you don't contribute to your retirement account, what ends up happening is your lifestyle just changes. And if you don't believe it, like people just buy, if you have a jewelry that you just don't need, there's an example. And you might say, well, a watch is utilitarian. It tells you the time. Sure, that may be true, but this bracelet that I'm wearing on this wrist doesn't. It's just a decoration. So clearly, I've spent money on things that I don't need, and that's okay because I've actually maxed out. So I'm actually comfortable with spending the money that I have because I have really done right by myself in terms of my retirement account. I'm maxed out. So what about, when can you withdraw money? So there's endgame withdrawals and the RMD boss. We're going to talk about the RMD boss in a second, but first, what about age 59 and a half? Well, if you're younger than the age of 59 and a half, your money is not completely stuck in your retirement account, but it is partially stuck there. You can make a hardship withdrawal, which means that if you are going through a genuine hardship, you can make a withdrawal from your retirement account. There is some legislation going around, and some retirement accounts allow you to withdraw for a first-time home purchase. So that's a possibility too. Not all. So you got to check with your retirement account service provider. So there's also loans that you could take against your retirement account. I don't suggest taking those too often, but they can help depending on your situation. There is a fourth thing that allows you to withdraw money from your account before age 59 and a half, and that is upon termination of service. You no longer work for the company that allowed you to create that traditional 403b TDA or Roth option. If you no longer work for that company, you have broken off service. Like for example, if you've retired, then you can start withdrawing money from your TDA or 403b Roth option. But if you haven't retired and you aren't taking loans and there's no hardship withdrawal, and depending on your servicer, if they allow a new home purchase withdrawal, if you're not in those cases, then very likely you have to wait until age 59 and a half. If you are age 59 and a half, you can actually withdraw from your retirement account for any reason at all. Any reason at all. So the money is just not stuck there at age 59 and a half. The access is completely unlocked. And then of course you can retire. Now, does that mean though that you have to withdraw? Actually, no, not necessarily. There is this RMD boss. The RMD boss is the required minimum distribution boss. Once you get to age 73, you are legally required to start taking minimum distributions from your traditional 403b account. You are required to make those withdrawals at a minimum, those withdrawals, and you're required to pay taxes on those withdrawals. That is a big difference though between the Roth and the traditional account. The Roth account does not have RMDs activated. There are no RMDs. There are no required minimum distributions on Roth retirement accounts, at least in the year 2026. And I don't see anything that implies that that's going to be a thing. So it may be true forever. And as a bonus, all of these retirement accounts can be left to your beneficiaries should anything happen. Now, I want to make a note to both the TRS and to you. First off, a note to the TRS. My only real wag of the finger to the TRS website for New York State, if you're in a different state, might be different for you. My only wag of the finger is that they do not automate retirement account contribution increases. And it's been shown that individuals who have a retirement account that allows for automatic increases to the retirement account contribute more to their retirement account. And so not automating increases has contributed to the epidemic of significantly reduced retirement account sizes, and as a result, a reduction of many people's ability to even retire when they want to. So to the TRS people and to all retirement account servicers, please do us all the favor and automate increases. In fact, the 457 plan website that I contribute to, they do allow for automated 457 plan increases. Right now, I'm contributing 1% to that, and I am increasing my 457 plan contribution by 1% automatically on September 1st of every year. So that said, until the robots do take over, you are the automation. You set the calendar reminder for every raise. You manually increase by 1%. And also ask the TRS people and your TDA people and your retirement account people to enable automated increases if those do not exist. Now, I promised I'd go back to the question of the day, not including catch-up contributions. What is the maximum amount that you can contribute to your 403b, your 401k, and your 457 retirement accounts combined in 2026? That's not including catch-up contributions. Is it $24,500 or $49,000? Or $73,500. And if you were listening, we did get the answer. The answer is B, $49,000. Why is it B, $49,000? There's three different retirement accounts here, a 403B, a 401k, and a 457. Why shouldn't it be triple the maximum? Well, because again, and if you caught me saying it, I did say it, the combined 403B and 401k, Roth and traditional all combined, is $24,500. And then separately, there's the 457 plan that has its own totally separate $24,500 maximum contribution for a combined total of 2 times $24,500, which is $49,000. Congratulations if you got the answer right. If you're confused about that at all, maybe I didn't explain it right, please do let me know in the comments. But you do have a little homework. And this is, again, opinion, not financial advice, right? Your homework is, if you can, to increase. Remember the flat tire rule. So your homework is to open a new tab right now, to go to your TDA or 403B website, and to increase your contributions by 0.2%, to a 1%. Your flat tire contribution all the way up to perhaps 1%. And again, this is not financial advice, but step 4 is to do it now. I do highly recommend it. And your future self will thank you. I appreciate the sacrifices that my past self made to allow me in my future version to live the life that I'm living and to be able to retire comfortably when I'm ready for that. So your future self will thank you. And I want to thank you for sticking around and watching this video. Thank you.